All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon on this Sunday, and we've got some more offensive coordinator candidates to take a look at. And this one might be of particular interest to Seahawks fans because this is somebody we've actually interviewed now. Apparently, he interviewed with the Seahawks yesterday. It is Brian Fleury. And if you don't know who that is, I don't blame you. He is a San Francisco 49ers coach, but he's a little bit further down the totem pole. So, not necessarily a household name, not necessarily somebody that everybody's going to know about, but for one reason or another, there is some degree of interest in Brian Fleury. So, let's talk about him a little bit. Let's try to understand what the team might see in him. I think that the most obvious thing is that he's a Shanahan guy, but let's go a little bit deeper than that. So, Brian Fleury, he is a little bit on the older side compared to some of these guys. He's 46. He's been around for a while. He coached in college for like a decade before he got to the NFL. But let's take a look at the resume. All right, guys, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about my friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Download the app to your phone. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get scores, news, and alerts with blazing fast speed. And you can play in daily fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports together. Download Sleeper today, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN for up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Plus, they currently have a free $20 entry, no deposit required, just make an account. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper and have fun with sports this year. So most recently, Fleury was two different things on that 49ers coaching staff. He was their run game coordinator and he was their tight ends coach. Now, tight end coach is something that he had been for the last several years, but run game coordinator, it was his first year as a run game coordinator for the Niners in 2025. Now, the running game for the 49ers in 2025 was a little bit weird. It wasn't very productive, right? I think we all know that Christian McCaffrey, while he did get a lot of yards, he was not very efficient. And there's a reason why a lot of people now think that Christian McCaffrey is going to move to a wide receiver next year because he can't really get it done as a running back anymore, and it's only going to get worse. The 49ers ranked 24th in rushing yards in 2025, and I think they ranked like 29th in yards per carry. So not very effective, but their rush EPA was actually pretty good. It was 10th in the league. It was barely negative, negative 0.033. So it wasn't all bad. So read into that as you will. Take from that what you will. I think what that generally indicates is that when the team needed to get some rushing yards, they were typically pretty good at getting it, but they were not able to put together a lot of great volume with their run game. As a tight end coach in 2025, I mean, we know who the main 49ers tight end is. It's George Kittle, maybe the best tight end in the game. And he did not have a great season in 2025, but it was because he got hurt. He got hurt a few different times, actually. He had 57 catches, 628 yards, 7 touchdowns, and was still an excellent player when he was on the field. But 2025 saw the breakout of Jake Tonges, who had 34 catches, almost 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was good. And when Kittle was out, Tonges was a pretty significant part of that offense. So that is kind of a feather in his cap, I guess you could say. Now, the 3 years prior to 2025, he was just the tight end coach. And the only tight end of note they had all 3 years was George Kittle. 1,100 yards in 2024, 8 touchdowns, 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2023. 2022, not quite so much, like 765 yards, but 11 touchdowns. The thing is, George Kittle was obviously a great player before he was working with Brian Fleury as the tight end coach, right? Kittle's greatness goes back to the first Niners team that made the Super Bowl under Shanahan. In fact, it goes back even a year before that, probably. So it's not like Brian Fleury made George Kittle a great player. Kittle has been great for much longer than that. Now, the previous 2 years, offensive quality control coach for the 49ers under Shanahan, 2020, 2021. Neither year was great for the 49ers. 2021, they were able to get their stuff together in time to make a run to the NFC Championship game, and they had the sixth best EPA, which is good. Points per game, they were kind of average, 21 points a game, 13th. 2020 was the year where everybody got hurt. They were not very good. They were 21st in points and 21st in EPA. So not the best of the Shanahan era, but not necessarily terrible. And the problems they had are pretty excusable when they had all the injuries they did. The year before that, 2019, which was the first Shanahan Super Bowl trip as a Niner, 2019, he was the defensive quality control coach. So, other side of the ball here. And the defense in 2019 was elite. The 2019 Niners were 8th in points allowed and 2nd in EPA per play. Negative .139 EPA per play, which is phenomenal. So I guess he did a pretty good job. Obviously just a quality control coach, though. The 3 years before his time with the Niners, he was with the Miami Dolphins, and he was not a coach. He was part of football operations. His role from 2017 to 2018 was Director of Football Research, whatever that means, Director of Football Research. And then the year before that, he was Football Research Analyst. So I don't really know what to take from that. I don't know what to try to get from that. So I'm not really going to speculate too much on what exactly his role might have been and what he did. But that was his job for those 3 years. And then you go back to before then, 2015, 2014, he was with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously not exactly a part of the resume you're super proud of. But in 2015, he was the outside linebacker coach for the Browns. The outside linebackers that the Browns had that year were Nate Orchard, and Paul Kruger. Paul Kruger was a good player back then, but he did not have a very good year in 2015, so there's really not much to say. The year before that, he was the assistant linebackers coach for the Browns. And by the way, 2014 was a year where Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the Browns. So that's kind of where they initially crossed paths, I guess. The linebackers on the Browns in 2014 were Craig Robertson, Carlos Dansby. He was a notable NFL player for a long time there. Christian Kirksey and Paul Kruger. And Paul Kruger that year had like 11 sacks, so he was good that year. So not a ton, but a little bit. And this is where he and Shanahan initially crossed paths. So take from it as you will. The only thing we have before then in the NFL, because he does actually have a lot of college stuff that I did not go into, but he was a Buffalo Bills quality control coach in 2013. The Bills in 2013, not very good. They were 6-10. They were bad offensively and below average defensively, although not terrible on either end. I think this was one of the EJ Manuel years, so not a lot to work with. But really, when you're looking at Brian Fleury, the appeal is he's a Shanahan guy. He's been under Shanahan for a long time, and you hope he picked up the right things. And I don't think this is enough to really make me feel excited about getting him, but I can understand why they're looking at him, especially if Clay Kubiak is off limits for some reason, which I don't know if he is or not. Maybe there's a reason why they can't interview him, but Fleury's a guy you could get instead of Kubiak, I guess, and kind of feel like you're doing something similar. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon, but that is Brian Fleury's resume. It's not super long, but there is some pretty good stuff here, and I understand to an extent the appeal. All right. Good. Have a good day. More videos soon.